Everyone, this is a 16th session. The gut is infected with the parasites, particularly in the intestinal region. Taenia Solium, a platyhelminthic parasite. It is what also name it to be wall over, which means it takes the nutrients from through its body wall by living in the intestinal wall. Taenia Solium is a tapeworm which causes the teniasis, and it lives in the intestine. So intestinal is a gut part, so it is a digestive disorder it leads to. That is obstruction in the flow of the food, anemia, allergies are what the conditions we see by means of the tapeworm. Next, common roundworm Ascaris lumbricoides is what named to be the common roundworm. It is also the intestinal enterozoic parasites. Basically, these are all the Taenia Solium and Ascaris is what named to be the enterozoic parasites. The parasites that are present in the enteron gut, particularly in the intestinal region. So, Ascaris lumbricoides causes the ascariasis. In first year, already we have learned regarding the ascariasis, that is obstruction in the flow of the food, the what is called anemia, organ damage, obstruction in the food. These are all what the symptoms we see in the case of the ascaris. As it lives in the intestinal region, so the flow of the food is what obstructed. That's what also results in a digestive problems, ascariasis. Next, the hookworm Ankylostoma duodenal, pinworm enterobius. By their antigens, they show the effect on the gut, results in a digestive system disorders. Now we'll move on to the digestive system disorders because of the either by irregularly taking the food or else by less taking the food of the fiber or excessive intake of the food, anxiety, stress results in the digestive disorders. The digestive disorders we see are, the digestive system disorders we see is indigestion, constipation, jaundice, vomiting, indigestion, constipation, jaundice, vomiting, and diarrhea. So these are all what related to the digestive system disorders. This is what due to the irregular interval taking the food or else taking excessive food, overeating and spicy food eating. We have carbohydrates, proteases, lipases as an enzyme which act upon carbohydrates, fats and proteins, but we don't have anything that can digest the spicy food, so that remain in our body. That's what it lead to the digestive related problems. And even if some do not take a sufficient amount of water, if somebody do not take the sufficient of water, in the rectum and the colon region where absorption of water takes place, leading to the undigested food remain as a hard pellets. One, in the rectum and the rectum region, the water absorption takes place. If somebody takes less amount and out of that is absorbed, the fecal matter become the hard. However, it is dried after absorption, but when it become hard, it cannot move and it remain in the rectum region for a long period. That's the reason why one has to take a regular interval the fiber food. Definitely that makes the reflexes from the rectum, that is from the gut to the brain, for the propelling of the what is called undigested food to the outside, besides taking sufficient of water. So in this connection, indigestion literally means the failure of the digestion of the food. That is, the digestive system failed to digest the food is indigestion. Why? It is due to the what is called excessive eating and the anxiety, spicy food consumption, and failure in release of the enzymes, and even the hormones may lead to indigestion. That is, it is less digestion of the food is a condition results in a disorder, name it to be the indigestion. We take the food. One more point also need to be remind you that sometimes people take the swallow the food in a sense of urgent. One has to chew the food, one has to swallow the food, and it should be chewed properly. From oral cavity directly it is taken into the stomach, which means carbohydrate digestion does not take place and the mechanical digestion does not take place. So this is how the food which is without chewing and churning leads into the stomach. This is also one of the reasons. So the spicy food intake, excessive food eating, fullness, these are all what the symptoms we see in the indigestion. Next, the constipation. Constipation means difficulty of defecation. Particularly this is happen with the people who are taking the what is called junk food. Constipation is a condition in which the difficulty in the fecal matter elimination. Why? Due to low content of water. Low content of water in the rectum region makes the undigested food become hard and stick to the rectal wall and is not eliminated, it remains there. This leads to constipation. It is mainly because of the low content of water. This can be overcome by taking the food at a regular interval, and intake of the fiber containing food can be the remedy for the constipation, and taking more of the vegetable food. That is the constipation. Next is jaundice. Jaundice is said to be, it is a disorder related to the liver. Liver is a part of the digestive system. The largest gland we have discussed is jaundice. Jaundice can be categorized in 3 forms: prehepatic jaundice, prehepatocellular jaundice, and hepatic jaundice, and the post-hepatic jaundice. Likewise, we see What do you mean by this? Prehepatocellular or prehepatic jaundice and hepatic jaundice as well as post-hepatic jaundice. Prehepatic jaundice is a person by birth, that is in the early stages the bile production may be failed. Hepatic jaundice is what we say is the blockages in the gallbladder that may lead to hepatic, and the post, even during the lifetime, one prone for the post-hepatic. So jaundice is nothing but the impairing in the function of the liver. Impairing in the function of the liver, which is of prehepatic, hepatic and post-hepatic. Besides that, there is one more jaundice, name it to be the neonatal jaundice. Neonatal jaundice. Neo means newly born. Nowadays it has become a common that the children are immediate after the birth, they are prone for the jaundice, and they were kept in an incubation, which has become a normal. That is the neonatal jaundice. As a part of the olden traditional method, the children are exposed to the sunlight. The same way neonatal babies are, where the bile is not eliminated outside. So that is the reason why they are suffering from neonatal jaundice, and they are exposed to blue light. So this bilirubin, actually the bile pigments, if are not eliminated outside, maybe because of the blockages in the cystic duct, or else in the gallbladder, or else within the liver, maybe a jaundice. So this blocked bilirubin biliverdin, which is a pigment, is what reflects on the sclera of the eye as well as in the skin. The skin and the sclera of the eye. Sclera of the eye. Sclera. Basically, it is said to be the white of the eye. Sclera of the eye. You can see that in the mirror. When you open your eyes and see in the mirror, you find the black portion is covered by means of the white portion of the eyeball is none other than the sclera. White of the eye. The sclera of the eye or white of the eye turns into the yellow. Why? It is because of this bile pigments. And skin turns into yellow because of the bile pigments. This is what we name it as a jaundice. Jaundice is the impairing in the function of the liver. That is, the bile is trapped, and which is hepatocellular, hepatic and post-hepatic, even neonatal jaundice. The symptoms of this are anorexia, loss of appetite, particularly the jaundice individual do not have the hunger. Loss of appetite, that is they don't show interest in taking the food. That's what loss of appetite. Next, the skin and sclera of the eye turns into yellow color. So skin turns into yellow and sclera, white of the eye, turns into yellow. That is what we say is jaundice. Next, vomiting. Vomiting in the sense the expelling of, forceful expelling of the food of the stomach. Rarely from duodenum also, mostly from the stomach. The condition in which the forceful expelling of the food contents in the stomach, rarely from the duodenum, expelled out through the esophagus, then to the pharynx and through mouth it is eliminated, which is what name it to be the vomiting. Generally, this vomiting is controlled by a center present in the brain. Medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is considered to be medulla oblongata is considered to be the vomiting center. It is with the vomiting regulating center. That's the reason why earlier we have discussed the swallowing or deglutition, which is regulated by medulla. When one swallowing and deglutition, taking food into the mouth from there to pharynx and esophagus, is a deglutition. If that is proper, then it cannot be go out. So it is going out in the sense vomiting. The forceful expelling of the contents of the food from the stomach propelled into the esophagus, from there into the pharynx, then through mouth to the outside is vomiting. Before vomiting, one feels nausea. Feeling of the vomiting is named to be the nausea. Nausea in the sense the feeling of vomiting. That is, nausea precedes the vomiting. Before vomiting, one gets the feeling of the vomiting, which is what named to be the nausea. So, the forceful expelling of the contents of the stomach. What are the contents of the stomach? The partly digested food, and HCl is also present. That's the reason why primarily when one omits, one feels it is acidic. Why? That is, the HCl is propelled or expelled out. So most of the HCl which is expelled out of the stomach, that's the reason why alkaline condition exists in the blood, which is one of the frost conditions of the body. That is the vomiting. Vomiting is controlled by medulla oblongata, part of the brain, and a person may have the conditions called the nausea. Nausea in the sense the feeling of vomiting. That is, before vomiting, one prone for the nausea. In this vomiting, the more content, the contents present in the stomach are sent out. A little of, or else a less negligible amount from the duodenum, mostly from the stomach, it is expelled out. And this is controlled by medulla oblongata. As the swallowing deglutition is controlled by this, and at the same time the vomiting, if one takes the adulterated food, that may affect it and expelled outside. That is vomiting. Next is diarrhea. Diarrhea in the sense irregular movement of the large intestinal portion and increasing in the liquidity of the fecal matter is what we name it as a diarrhea. What do you mean by this? Irregular movements of the rectal region means the rectum starts the irregular movement such that, and also in the gut region the irregular bowel movement. In fact, slowly the peristaltic movements are very slow in the rectum, large intestinal region, so it has to slowly move, even in the small intestine also. But the rapid movement as if directly from the stomach into the small through large intestine for a shorter time, it is immediately eliminated. So that is what nothing but the irregular bowel movement increasing in the liquidity of the fecal matter is nothing but all the liquid contents are eliminated. So a person suffering from motions, we see more amount of the liquid loss out. That's what diarrhea. It leads to dehydration. and absorption capacity is reduced. This is what diarrhea, which is one of the conditions we see in the lactose intolerance. Earlier we have discussed. Lactose intolerance will show certain symptoms of the diarrhea. The nutritional and digestive disorders, which includes the nutritions, protein, energy malnutrition, that is kwashiorkor marasmus. Besides that, the anemia, deficiency of the iron is anemia. The deficiency of the A vitamin results in nyctalopia, xerophthalmia, and deficiency of iodine, goiter. Protein is the building materials of the body. So when protein deficiency is there or under nutrition or deficiency of proteins results in two conditions, what name it to be the kwashiorkor and marasmus. The protein deficiency but normal calorie is the kwashiorkor, whereas both deficiency of protein and calorie is marasmus, which reflected on the symptoms such as one is with the weak muscles, weak limbs, physical and mental retardation is what seen, and digestive system disorders, which includes the Taenia Solium, Oscaris, Ankylostoma, Enterobius. These are the what is called helminthes parasites, which show effect in first year. We have already discussed in the case of the Taenia Solium, which causes the teniasis. These are the enterozoic parasite, lives in the enteron, means the gut, particularly in the intestine. Oscaris, oscariosis. So beside the pathogenic infections, parasites, we suffer from the digestive disorders. Either it is regular interval taking the food, or less amount of taking the fiber food, or else the water, or else the deficiency of enzymes related to the digestion. What anxiety and stress, spicy food intake are all the reasons for the digestive system disorders, indigestion, constipation, jaundice, vomiting and diarrhea. The incomplete or failure of the digestion is the indigestion due to taking a spicy food, excess of the food. Anxiety, constipation, low content of the water makes a difficulty in defecation. Jaundice, the impairing in the function of the liver. Prehepatic, hepatic, posthepatic and neonatal jaundice. It is characterized by the turning the sclera, white of the eye, into yellow and skin into yellow color. Next, the vomiting, the expelling of the content of the stomach forcibly to the outside is vomiting. Vomiting preceded by nausea. Nausea is nothing but the feeling of the vomiting. And the vomiting center, what medulla oblongata, what controls the vomiting. Diarrhea, increasing the liquidity of the fluids. Okay. And irregular bowel movement. This is a diarrhea. Diarrhea decreases the absorption process, as forcibly due to irregular bowel movement the contents are eliminated outside, so liquid discharge will be more. And this diarrhea is of one of the symptoms in a lactose intolerance. Besides that, let's have some recap of this topic. This ends the first topic. We have discussed the digestion, which involve the conversion of complex and macromolecules, unabsorbed substances into the simpler substances. The digestive system is said to be the digestive system is a fuel provider and a life sustainer. What do you mean by that? Which means a vehicle, when one runs, it requires the fuel. So for our body, a vehicle for which the nutrients are fuel provided by digestive system, and thereby our life is sustained. So fuel, it is a fuel provider and a life sustainer. And apart from that, this digestive system, which includes the gastrointestinal tract, there are intestinal bacteria, intestinal microbes, which are helpful for us in providing the vitamins. Generally, earlier it was the hyperacidity, that is ulcers are a condition related with the digestive system, which observed. Recently it is considered that Helicobacterium, a type of bacteria, Helicobacteria is a bacteria also causes the ulcers. This is the reason why nowadays antibiotics are also being used for the digestive system disorder, which is ulcers. Let's see some more key points we have seen so far. The digestive system, which starts with the mouth and ends with the anus, is a tube-like gut. The mouth lead into the teeth. Teeth is what showing the thecodont, diffeodont and the heterodont. Tooth is the bulk of the tooth is what made up of the dentine a substance, and it is of odontoblast in origin, which is mesodermal in origin. Tooth is with the crown, neck and root. The crown part of the tooth is covered by means of the crown part of the dentine is lined by enamel, a white shining material, which is the hardest substance, which is ameloblast in origin, which is ectodermal in origin. This indicates the tooth is of both mesodermal and ectodermal in origin. The root part of the dentine is covered by cement, which is produced from the cementocytes, which is covered by periodontal membrane, which fixes the tooth into the sockets of the jawbone. Next is the tongue. Tongue is said to be the universal toothbrush, which is for pulverization of the food. It is for taste. It is for speech. The tongue, which is a highly movable, voluntary muscles are present. Basically, the tongue is with the taste buds. There are 4 types of the papillae are present. The projections in the tongue, we name it as the papillae. The papillae are fungiform, filiform, foliate and circumvallate. The fungiform are present on the anterior margins of the tongue, whereas filiform are the what is called present on the upper surface of the tongue and circumvallates base of the tongue. Of all the 4 types of the papillae, the 4 types of the papillae we have seen. The filiform papillae are considered to be devoid of the taste buds. They are not for the taste but tactile. Of all the 4 types of the papillae, the vallate, there are the circumvallate, filiform, fungiform and foliate. Foliate papillae are considered to be underdeveloped in human beings. Next, the tongue leads into the tongue, which is divided into the anterior and posterior region by sulcus terminalis. Next, after the tongue, it is the pharynx. Pharynx is a common platform for food and the air, which is nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx by means of the soft palate. And generally, the pharynx lead into the esophagus. Before that, there are the tonsils, oral tonsils are present. A tonsil is a lymphoid tissue. These tonsils are of pharyngeal tonsils, palatine tonsils, tubal tonsils, and lingual tonsils. All these lymphatic tissues are arranged in a circle form forming the Waldeck's ring. And particularly the children at the pharynx region, at the throat region, suffer from the inflammation and swelling, which are surgically removed. And these are what we discussed as the lymphatic tissues, which produce the immunoglobulin A for immune purpose. Pharyngeal tonsils are adenoid. Next, the tongue leads into the pharynx, tongue into the pharynx, pharynx into the esophagus. The esophagus is a part of the gut which is named to be the food pipe. Esophagus is of cervical, thoracic and abdominal, and it is made up of internally it is what with the mucous secretion where food is not stored but it is lubricated and softened and move into the stomach. Stomach is named to be the gaster. The stomach is of, that's what it got the term gaster, stomach. It is with the cardiac, fundus, body and the pyloric part. Generally the stomach is with the greater and lesser curvatures. From the posterior to the greater curvatures, a peritoneum fold, what moves, it is made up of the fat is named to be the greater omentum. The stomach functions are, it is for storing the food for 4 to 5 hours. It partly digests the food. It secretes the gastric juice. Gastric juice include HCl, caseal intrinsic factor, pepsinosin and prorenin. Mucus secreted from the goblet cells. Besides that, the endocrine cells are present. Argentifin cells and G cells. G cells are what secrete in the gastrin and argentifin cells are somatostatin. Then the small intestine. Small intestine is of 6.25 meters. It is with the duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Intestine is the part, small intestine, where most of the food is digested and absorbed. Large intestine, due to its larger diameter, it is a large intestine. It is with the colon, rectum and the anus. Anus is an opening to the outside, which is surrounded by means of the anal sphincter, external and internal anal sphincter. The gut is with associated by sphincters. There at the cardiac sphincter and pyloric sphincter, and surrounding the anus, it is the external and internal anal sphincter. Besides that, the opening of the hepatopancreatic duct into the duodenum by means of an opening is guarded by sphincter of Oddi. And the cystic duct which leads to the hepatic duct form common bile duct. Common bile duct is towards opening into the hepatic duct. There sphincter of Boyden is present.